It was one of those rare, unexpectedly good days, the kind you don't see coming. My boss called me into his office completely out of the blue, and my stomach dropped instantly. I was bracing for bad news, a complaint, a mistake I hadn't noticed, maybe even a layoff. But to my surprise, he just wanted to thank me. We'd recently wrapped up a huge project, and he appreciated the long hours I'd put in. "Go home early," he said. "Take a breather." I walked out of that office lighter than air. On the way home, I felt a burst of warmth, not just from the sun, but from the quiet satisfaction of being seen, acknowledged. I figured I'd make the most of the free time and surprise my wife, Lucy, at work. I pulled up outside her building, lit a cigarette, and let the spring breeze wash over me. It carried the faint scent of freshly cut grass, something that instantly took me back to my childhood in a quiet hometown. That moment felt perfect. Calm. Familiar. But perfection has a strange way of cracking when you least expect it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, Lucy, peeking around a corner, as if she didn't want to be seen. And just like that, the warmth drained away, replaced by a knot forming in my gut. That flicker of suspicion started as nothing more than a question in my mind. Why was Lucy sneaking around the corner of her office like she didn't want to be seen? She was dressed nicely, as usual, but something about the way she moved, hurried, nervous, didn't sit right with me. I stubbed out my cigarette and pulled the car closer. When I rolled down the window and called her name, she jumped slightly before forcing a smile and slipping into the passenger seat. She tugged at her skirt like it didn't fit right, eyes darting around like we were being watched. I asked her if everything was okay, but she just nodded quickly and said she had a long day. There was a strange tension in the air, and while I didn't want to make a scene in front of her workplace, my gut was already whispering something I didn't want to hear. Still, I played it cool. I told myself maybe I was overthinking, being paranoid. But the moment we pulled into our driveway, she bolted out of the car like it was on fire, muttering something about needing the bathroom urgently. I called after her, confused, but she didn't stop. That's when I noticed the back of her skirt. There were odd stains on it, smeared and unmistakable, but I tried to shake it off. Inside the house, I caught up to her just as she was heading to the bathroom. That's when I saw the stockings, torn, messy, completely out of place. My chest tightened. Something inside me snapped. I didn't ask permission. I grabbed the hem of her skirt and yanked it up, only to find what I feared most: she wasn't wearing any underwear. The pieces started falling into place. Her nervousness, the way she rushed inside, the stains, the silence. It all pointed to one thing, and I suddenly remembered the man I saw walking out with her earlier, Nick. One of her co-workers. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She hadn't just been acting weird. She'd been caught. And the betrayal was no longer a theory, it was standing right in front of me. I stood there in our hallway, holding on to the truth I didn't want to believe. My wife, my partner of 5 years, wasn't wearing any underwear, and the look on her face said everything her mouth wouldn't. Lucy tried to pull away, brushing my hand off like it was no big deal, but the damage was already done. Her eyes couldn't meet mine. The torn stockings, the stained skirt, the panicked rush home, it all pointed in one ugly direction. For a split second, I hoped I was wrong. Maybe there was some bizarre, innocent explanation. But deep down, that hope was already dying. I asked her, calmly at first, "Who were you with?" She said nothing. I asked again, my voice rising. Still nothing. Just silence and guilt hanging heavy between us. And then, I lost it. Not proud of it, but I completely snapped. I grabbed her by the arm, not hard enough to hurt her, but hard enough to make her look at me. "Tell me who it was," I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls of our home, the home we built together. She still didn't answer. Didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. That silence spoke louder than any confession. My mind raced, piecing it all together like a cruel puzzle. And one name kept surfacing: Nick. The guy I'd seen her laughing with in the parking lot. The guy whose name kept popping up in conversations she tried to gloss over. He wasn't just a colleague, he was the other man. I didn't need her to say it. I knew. In that moment, everything collapsed. The trust. The love. The future I thought we shared. Gone. I stepped back, hands shaking, heart pounding. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was betrayal in its rawest form. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew, realizing that I didn't know her at all. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept looping back to her face, blank, unremorseful, silent. The anger inside me wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about the cowardice. The refusal to even admit what she'd done. I needed answers. And if Lucy wouldn't give them to me, I'd find them myself. The next morning, I woke up early and drove straight to our wireless provider. The phone plan was under my name, so legally, I had full access. I explained the situation to the guy behind the counter, and though he gave me that awkward "I'm not supposed to pry" look, he still handed over the call and text logs for the last few months. One number stood out immediately, called and texted more times than mine. Same area code. Same time windows, over and over. I felt my stomach turn. I dialed it. A guy picked up. His voice was casual, like he wasn't hiding a damn thing. I didn't tell him who I was, just that I knew, and I wanted to meet in person. He hesitated. Then refused. Hung up. That didn't stop me. Later that day, I drove back to Lucy's office and waited in the parking lot. It didn't take long. I saw a guy walk out, same voice, same smug energy, and just to be sure, I dialed the number again. He pulled out his phone. Bingo. I stepped out of the car and walked straight toward him. No more games. I said exactly who I was and exactly what I knew. He tried to play it cool at first, but I saw the color drain from his face. Then I lost control. I punched him, hard. He staggered. I hit him again. My knuckles split, but I didn't care. For every lie, every text, every moment he'd stolen from my marriage, I gave him another bruise. Eventually, someone shouted. He didn't fight back. He just curled, humiliated. He never filed charges. Probably too embarrassed. As for me, I drove home with my hands shaking and blood on my shirt. But inside, for the first time in days, I felt something clear. This ends now. When I got home after confronting Nick, my knuckles were sore and my shirt was stained with blood, but I didn't feel regret, only clarity. I'd seen the truth with my own eyes, heard it in Lucy's silence, and confirmed it with the man himself. There was no room left for second chances. I walked straight into the house and began packing up anything that belonged to me, documents, essentials, everything I needed to take control of the situation. Then I changed all the locks. Every door. Every window latch. She wasn't coming back in. Not without my permission. That evening, Lucy tried to come home. I watched her from the window as she jiggled the doorknob, confused, then panicked. She called my phone again and again. I let it ring. Finally, I picked up, not to talk, just to tell her it was over. "You don't live here anymore," I said coldly. She screamed through the phone about her rights, about how she was entitled to half the house. I cut her off. "You gave up your share the second you chose someone else's bed." I told her she could collect her personal belongings, just the things she bought herself. Nothing more. No joint furniture. No electronics, no gifts I gave her. Everything else I kept, and I made it clear I'd sell it all if I felt like it. I'm not a petty man by nature. If she had stayed loyal, I would have given her the world. But she chose a cheap thrill over a lifelong bond, and I wasn't about to reward that betrayal with kindness. Within days, I filed for divorce. The papers were quick. No kids, no shared assets that couldn't be split. Just signatures and silence. When it was done, I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. Just numb. Like I'd walked out of a burning house and was finally breathing fresh air again. I didn't wait around for closure. I packed a bag, got in my car, and headed back to the one place that had always felt safe, my parents' home. The drive back to my hometown was quiet. No music, no calls, just the steady hum of the engine and the weight of everything I'd left behind. When I finally pulled into my parents' driveway, I sat in the car for a moment, just breathing. The air smelled different out there, cleaner, softer. Like it had never been touched by lies. My parents welcomed me without questions. They didn't need the details, they could see the exhaustion on my face, the pain I was still too tired to process. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was surrounded by people who cared about me with no conditions, no secrets. Just love. I spent a few weeks there. No deadlines, no tension, no pretending. I took long walks around the old neighborhood, passed by the school I used to go to, and let the familiarity ground me. I started to remember who I was before everything went sideways, before betrayal rewired my view of love, trust, and loyalty. It wasn't instant healing. I still had nightmares. Still woke up some mornings angry at myself for not seeing the signs sooner. But day by day, the weight started to lift. Not because I forgot, but because I accepted. The divorce was finalized quickly. Lucy didn't fight it much, maybe out of guilt, maybe because she knew there was nothing left to salvage. I didn't see her again after we signed. I didn't need to. That chapter was over. When I returned to the city, I came back stronger. Not colder, but clearer. I knew what I wanted now, what I deserved. Someday, I'll love again. But next time, it'll be with someone who values loyalty as much as I do. Someone who knows love isn't just about feelings, it's about respect, integrity, and showing up even when it's hard. That's the story of how it all fell apart. But more importantly, it's the story of how I began putting myself back together. Trust is like glass, once shattered, even if you piece it back together, the cracks will always remain. This story is a raw reminder that love without loyalty is just a ticking time bomb. You can give someone your time, your energy, even your heart, but if they don't value honesty, the whole foundation crumbles. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't come with warning signs. It arrives quietly, hidden in silence, late-night texts, or torn stockings. But here's the real lesson: you can't control someone's loyalty, but you can control your boundaries. Walk away from what disrespects you. You deserve a partner who chooses you every day, not someone who makes you doubt your worth. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It comes in waves. Some days you'll feel okay, others you'll want to break all over again. But the act of choosing yourself, of protecting your peace, is the first step to rebuilding. Pain changes people, but it also reveals strength you didn't know you had. In the end, what breaks you can also be what rebuilds you, stronger, wiser, and no longer afraid to walk away when trust is gone.